So I knew nothing about any type of religion. But, I had in my mind when I made this prayer, I'm like, the truth is possibly with a religion. And then I also thought, okay, maybe it's not with a religion. That's why I decided to ask the Creator alone. I've seen my life change in a day. I know that the life I used to live and the life I live now and what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can guide me to, if Allah guided me, anybody out there can do it. And the message was, this isn't just the lands of the scholars. This is the land of the kibar al-ulama, like the major scholars. Riyadh was the place where Sheikh Salih al-Fawzan was, the Mufti of Saudi Arabia.
Amazing things that happen in your life, just ajib things that happen in your life as well.
Ajib,
the guy in the wheelchair, getting accepted to the Jamia. So after the Jamia, you was in the lands of Mauritania as well. So how did that even happen?
I completed the Arabic Institute there, and I entered the Kulliyat Sharia, and I finished the first and second.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Salatu wassalam ala Rasulillah. So welcome to Inside the System. This is a podcast where we basically explore the lives of people from all walks of life, each navigating their own system, whether it's a 9-to-5 kind of grind, social pressures, or mental and spiritual blocks. We challenge the idea that you have to be stuck. That's what we're basically doing, from an Islamic lens to building your own path in life, where we're here to inspire, to question, to change, and even break the system that you're in. So to get into it right now, my name is Suleiman Amin. I'm here with my co-host.
My name is Mahdi.
Mahdi is here, and we have our brother Mu'adh Al-Kubi that's joining us.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah. How you doing? Allah yahyeek, Allah yahyeek, barakallah feek. So, to get straight into it, you have an amazing story that I wish this was my first time hearing it. But I know the way you're going to explain this, it's going to feel like this is my first time hearing it as well. So inshallah, bi'idhnillah kareem, tell us a little bit about your upbringings, how you came into Islam as well, being a young hustler in New York, from being the young hustler in New York to being in the deserts of Mauritania.
Inshallah. Straight like that, yeah?
Straight like that.
Inshallah. Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wa salatu wa salamu ala rasulillahi wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam. So my name's Mu'adh, 33 years old. I'm born and raised in Queens, New York.
Allahu Barak.
And, by the time I turned about 13, that's when I started to get really involved in like just the New York street culture. And things started to take a turn for the worst. So just started getting involved in a lot of drug dealing, street activity. And this went on until I was about 18 years old, 19 years old. And when that happened, when things got so bad, my parents had enough. So I was kind of like on my last chance. So I thought, okay, how can I extend my run in a manipulative type of way? Like I want to keep going, but I have no more credit left, to keep going. So I said to them, let me move to Miami. My grandfather lives in Miami. My aunt lives in Miami. I want to change my environment. And if I change my environment, maybe I could change my life. So my father said to me, he's like, okay, this is your last chance. If you do not change, then, we're going to disown you. And that's that. So I went to Miami, and subhanallah, it didn't take even a day, except I started building the same environment around me.
SubhanAllah.
The same environment. So first day I'm in Miami, I go to the park, go trying to find people. I go sit on a bench, subhanAllah. I see a bunch of shabab, a bunch of young people on a bench, and I just start bumping some New York music. And subhanAllah, I just was trying to network with people, and somebody came up to me. And I was playing somebody named Max B. If you're from New York, you know who Max B is.
Yeah.
So he comes up to me, he's like, what do you know about Max B? And I'm like, what you mean? I'm from Queens. He's like, oh, I'm from Brooklyn, Canarsie. And we got to know each other. Right away, when he said that, I pulled him to the side. I'm like, how are we going to make money together here?
Oh, that's it.
And that's it. And he liked the vibe. So I'll never forget what he said to me. He goes, you don't know who you met, but I'm going to show you the world. And this guy started bringing me to the underground scene of the clubs, introducing me to a lot of people in the music industry, a lot of the drug dealers in Miami. And I started from day one to build that same environment around me. So subhanAllah, I was living in Miami, doing the same thing. Actually, it became even worse in New York. And one day I was walking home and I caught a strong arm robbery charge. And I ended up in jail there in Miami. And when I ended up in jail, they told me my bond was about $25,000. So I'm like,
That's
yeah,
the bail money, right?
Yeah, they set your bail, but then you have to pay like a percentage of it to get out. But I'm like, oh, who's gonna pay this for me? I tried calling my parents in there, nobody picked up, and subhanallah, I was just sitting there for a couple of days, and one day they come up to me and they told me that somebody paid your bail and you're out. So I'm thinking, who could have possibly paid my bail? I get home, turn on my phone, and I see messages, like 50 messages from my dad. And he's like, basically telling me that he paid my bail and he was scared for me in there. But kind of like I used up all my chances and now I'm on my own. And subhanAllah, once he told me that, I knew that there was nothing left for me. There was no way I could keep this run up. I had to either make a choice to either change or to continue and really go all in this life that I was in and make it my lifestyle. So subhanAllah, I'm sitting there and I'm thinking about what to do. And I came to this conclusion, this realization that that's not what I want to do. You know, I want to do the right thing. I want to follow the truth. So then I start going through this conversation with myself where I'm asking myself, okay, you want to follow the truth, but you have to know what the truth is. Mind you, I'm not religious at this point at all. But I just thought if I'm going to follow the right path, it has to be the right path. So I start asking myself, what is the right path? Start telling myself, okay, if you start researching all the religions out there, you may never have time to finish researching them all before you come across which one is correct. So then I thought to myself, I said, okay, why don't I just ask the Creator himself? Call upon him as the Creator. And whoever that Creator is, whether he's Jesus, whether he's the Hindu God, whether he's a God of another religion, whether he's a God not attributed to a religion, that's the one who will answer me. And subhanAllah, I'll never forget the dua I made. I made a prayer and I said, "O Creator, I don't know who you are, but I call upon you as the one who created me, the one who created my mom, created my dad, created everything around me. I call upon you to guide me to what pleases you, even if it displeases me, and to guide me to the truth, even if I hate it."
Amazing.
And wallahi al-azim, akhi, the minute I said that dua, Islam started to manifest in my life within 30 seconds, bro. Within 30 seconds. I'm sitting there and I hear my laptop I hear a message go off and it's Facebook. And I go to see who it is after I make this dua. And it's somebody who I recognize his last name, but the first name I don't recognize. So I'm like, who's this? He's like, oh, it's Jonathan from back in high school. That's a Colombian brother I knew. But he wasn't Muslim. And I'm like, why'd you change your name? And he started telling me, oh, I became Muslim now. And that's actually, I was thinking about you. We haven't spoken like 5 years, but I wanted to hit you up and tell you that I reverted to Islam. And that's when he started breaking down Islam to me. He started breaking down Tawheed, the oneness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, not to call on any of the saints, to call on Allah alone. And I said to him, like, this is kind of ajib, it's kind of crazy. I just made this prayer and then you come and start 30 seconds later and start telling me about Islam. He said casually, like, oh, that's just Allah answering your prayers.
Before that, did you know anything about Islam? Like,
nothing, bro.
Seriously?
Nothing. I just used to think Islam, Hinduism, anything, you know, was all the same thing.
Like an Asian kind of thing.
Yeah, like an Asian kind of thing. That's it. I knew nothing about like Islam.
So was you like following a religion, or was you Christian? What was you before?
Yeah, we were Christian Catholic, but I mean, just by name.
Okay.
You know, it wasn't, I knew nothing about Catholicism. I knew nothing about, you know, any different types of religions. I was just out on the street, bro, doing my thing. So I knew nothing about any type of religion. But, you know, I had in my mind when I made this prayer, I'm like, okay, you know, the truth is possibly with a religion. And then I also thought, okay, maybe it's not with a religion. That's why I decided to ask the Creator alone.
Wow.
I'm like, if I ask the Creator and call upon him as the Creator, then the one true creator is going to answer me and guide me to the truth.
Allah, ujibu da'wat al-da'i idha da'at.
Wallah,
You know, that's exactly what it is. That Allah
Subhanallah.
subhanahu wa ta'ala, he calls to the person who's calling to him. So that's exactly what happened. That's amazing, man. So going back to the point where he sent you that message on Facebook and you're going back and forth to him, was it too much information, or did you feel like, wow, this is exactly what I prayed for, basically? Did you start looking into Islam?
Everything just gets crazier after that. But that initial spark was like, okay, it had me thinking. Like, I just made this prayer. I get this message like 30 seconds later. It was strange to me. And he started telling me everything about Islam. I was absorbing it. And then I'm like, okay, I'm going to go out for a little. I'm going to come back and I'm going to hit you up later. We'll speak more.
Yeah.
He's like, okay. I go in front of my building and there's a bunch of sisters. And mind you, we're in Miami at this time, wearing jilbab. And I've never seen this in Miami before. I'm like,
Wow.
yeah. And I asked them, I'm like, what are you guys wearing? Aren't y'all hot? I remember. And then, subhanAllah, one of them said to me, oh, we're from Kuwait. We came with my father here. He's a businessman and, you know, we're going to be going back in a couple weeks.
Same day.
Right after I finished speaking the
brother on
brother,
Facebook.
yeah, I walked right out and that happened. So then I started asking them, like, okay, but what are you wearing? They're like, oh, we're Muslim. I'm like, Muslim, that's Islam, right? Started connecting two and two. They're like, yeah, that's Islam.
Ajib.
And I started wanting to ask them more questions. And mind you, I know nothing about Islam. I'm just inquisitive at this point. I'm like, you guys want to come upstairs and smoke a blunt and we'll speak about this? And subhanallah, one of them's like, if you don't walk away right now, my father's going to come. First he'll kill us and he'll kill you. And I'm confused. I'm like,
Obviously, because you don't know the
Yeah,
culture or
I know
the
nothing
religion,
about the
the
culture.
principles. Yeah.
yeah, so anyways, I end up leaving. I end up going to South Beach to meet up with some people. Right back, you know, get
Back to
out
the
of jail,
streets.
right to the
Yeah.
streets. And I'm on a bus, and somebody with a kufi comes, sits down next to me
SubhanAllah.
and starts talking to me, bro. And wallahi, things like this occurred for a month.
Wow.
And as, like, I'll give you an example. One day, my roommate is walking home. He finds a book on the floor. And he's like, yo, I know you researching all this religion stuff. I found something on the floor. I don't want it. You want to see it? Gives it to me. English translation of the Quran.
Subhanallah.
So a month is going by. I'm still living my old life, but I'm researching. I'm researching about Islam. I'm researching about other religions and things. But Islam every single day coming into my life one way or another. Subhanallah. So as this starts to happen, I'm speaking to my friend who hit me up that day too, and he's telling me more and more about Islam. It reached a point where I believed in Islam. I believed it was the truth. And one day we were speaking, and he's like, why don't you go and take your shahada now? And I said to him, I'm like, look, I want to change my life before I go and take my shahada. I want to do this right. And he brought a good analogy. He's like, imagine yourself as a sick person, and Islam is like the medicine. You're trying to cure yourself without the medicine. The correct way is to enter Islam, and even if you're living, you know, a life that opposes it, every single morning, wake up and make dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to guide you to the right path and to take away your desires.
Very
Beautifully
powerful.
put, yeah.
Wallah.
Very well put.
Subhanallah.
Yeah.
And he said that. I'm like, okay, I could do that. It was Eid al-Adha, I think maybe in 2013. And I went to the masjid, I took my shahada, and I prayed Eid. And then when I got back, every single morning I'd do the same thing. I'd wake up, I'd make dua, sincere dua to Allah, and then just go out to the streets and do my thing. Every single day, the same thing. Because I was like trapped in a cycle.
Yeah.
Of course.
I didn't find a way out, just
Stuck in the system.
Stuck in the system, exactly. So, subhanAllah, a month goes by and I'm making this dua and I'm living the same life, but I start to live it with regret. Like, I start to get guilty. I start to really want to change more and more. One day, I'm standing in front of a club on South Beach, and I'm trapping, and subhanAllah, this guy goes by me in a wheelchair, and he stops in front of me, and he tells me, come here, I want to tell you something. Normally I'd be like, yo, keep moving. You know, but something in me like didn't take that energy with him. Like I moved forward to listen to him, and he stood up out his wheelchair, and subhanallah, I've never heard such eloquent speech from a person in my life like I heard that day. And he told me, and mind you, I don't know who this guy is. He told me, you entered Islam, but you didn't fully submit. You're not praying your prayers. Your mother had enough of you. She's crying every single night. Your father's disowned you. You have the police building a case on you. He pointed to some guy across the street. He's like, you see him? You think he's your friend? He's been plotting on you for the past 2 months. And starts to, akhi, he had me dumbfounded, bro. I'm just sitting and listening to him, not knowing who this guy is, scared, heart beating, heart pumping. And then he says to me, he goes, after he tells me all this stuff about myself, he goes, you have 2 weeks. You either start following Islam the way Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed it, or Allah is going to place a sickness in your heart that you'll never be able to get rid of except by turning to Him. So either turn to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on your own, or Allah will force you to turn back to Him.
Wow.
And wallahi, bro, when he left, I've never felt so scared in my life. And then from that day, that fear started to turn into taqwa. I was just afraid to do anything which goes against Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So I walk home that day. I didn't even want to take the bus. I walked home maybe like 12 miles or so, just to contemplate.
Wow.
Just to think, bro. It must have taken like 4 or 5 hours something to get home.
You thought, am I losing it?
I just bro, I had no idea what happened. And as I'm going home, I start thinking, I'm like, how am I going to change my life? I've been trying for so long. And then when I thought that thought, an English translation of the Quran, which I was researching over time, popped in my head. لا يكلف الله نفسا إلا وسعها. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not burden a soul upon what it, above what it can handle. And once I thought that, it clicked to me. I'm like, okay, I can do this. I just have to make an intention, and I have to have a firm, resolve that I'm going to wake up tomorrow and this is the life I'm going to live. So I got home, I went to sleep, and I woke up I set my alarm for the prayer time for Fajr. And that was the first day I started reading and trying to pray from a little prayer book.
Wow.
And I deleted all the numbers of the people I used to know. And that was the last time I ever took a drug, sold a drug, anything from my old life. It all ended on that day, subhanAllah.
Alhamdulillah.
And this is why too, it's like, I have a lot of belief in people that they could change. I've seen my life change in a day. It doesn't have to always come in a day, but I know that the life I used to live and the life I live now and what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can guide me to, if Allah guided me, anybody out there can do it.
It's true.
Subhanallah.
So do you feel like, subhanallah, so powerful, man. I don't even know how to start. But do you feel like going in fully submitting to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala at that time was something that might have been too much? As some people, sometimes when they go in hard, they leave really quick. So how did you manage to have that balance? Because some people, they feel like, okay, fine, let me cut off all my friends. Let me get off all of their social media platforms. Let me block their numbers. Let me do, like, they go quite harsh in it. But then they last maybe about 2-3 weeks and then they go straight back in. So how did you manage to find that balance?
I'm not going to lie. When I went through that experience and I woke up that day, it didn't make sense to me how anybody could live a life of other than full dedication and submission to Islam. Like, I saw it as if I was living in darkness and a veil was taken from my eyes and I'm seeing the light. And it just didn't make sense to me. I said to myself, it's like the only way forward is to do everything I can to learn about Islam and implement it. So for me, I didn't get how you can do anything other than go all in.
Wow.
It didn't make sense to me. And I used to, be very, very haris, be very ambitious. And people used to tell me, they used to see I'm a new Muslim, and they used to tell me to slow down. And I used to think in my head, nah, I'm not slowing down, bro.
Aspirations.
I'm not
High
slowing down.
aspirations.
These people are trying to keep me. They may
Yeah.
have good intentions, but
Yeah.
trying to keep me from reaching my full potential. I'm
Wow.
not doing that. And that's when I started to research about talab al-ilm. And I met brothers at a Jum'ah, and they started teaching me about talab al-ilm, and I made it my goal that I'm gonna dedicate my life first and foremost to going and seeking knowledge for the sake of Allah and implementing it. That's all I wanted. And I didn't understand how somebody can know the truth like it was revealed to me and follow other than a path of this. It just didn't make sense, subhanAllah.
Before we move on to the bit where, because now you're in Miami, right? Did you go
in
back to
Miami.
New York? What happened?
So after I became Muslim, a couple months later, I went back to New York.
Okay.
Alhamdulillah.
Before we get on to what happens next, how did your family take it? Because what's your background? What's your jinsiyah?
Yeah, so my father is Cuban and Puerto Rican, and my
Okay.
mom's Italian.
Allahumma barik.
So my mom, alhamdulillah, she's always from the beginning, like, been with me. And alhamdulillah, my mom, she reverted to Islam a couple of years ago.
Allahu
She came-
Akbar, mashallah.
Yeah,
Allahumma
alhamdulillah. So, but even before she reverted, she was always, by my side, always supporting me, always understanding. So, from the beginning, she was cool. My father and some of my other family members, they were concerned, and I didn't tell them I became Muslim right away. They actually found out when I went back to New York. So I went back to New York and astaghfirullah, I attended a Christmas party. Still a new Muslim, didn't know too much, maybe 2 months in.
Of course,
at
yeah.
this time, because I think Eid al-Adha at that time was around October. Yeah.
Okay.
So went to a Christmas party, and I saw that they were cooking, because we're Latino. They cook a big pork inside the oven. And before I was going to the Christmas party, I was just making dua to Allah. Please don't let there be pork. Please don't let there be pork. But I was delusional, bro. We're Latino. So I go there and I look in the oven. It's a big pork, bro. I'm like, yo, how am I going to get past this? Right when we sit down for dinner, they go to pass out plates, and they pass out a plate. And they put the pork on it. And I'm like, oh, I'm not hungry today. My dad stands up. He's like, it's because he's Muslim.
Subhanallah.
My
How you
dad,
know?
because he's seen my aunt sent him a Facebook post of me wearing like full
Khamis.
khamis. Yeah, I'm gonna show you. I still
yeah.
got the picture on my phone. I'm gonna show you. Inshallah.
Okay. Inshallah.
Full khamis, yani imama.
Wow.
In the middle of Miami. So he knew all along, but he stood up. He's like, it's because he's Muslim, bro. All of a sudden, I'm sitting there. All of my family start to talk amongst themselves. I got one person asking me, are you Shia or Sunni? Another person telling him, oh, don't worry, it's for the best. Another person saying, I used to know a Muslim back in the day. He was, really,
yeah, on the other stuff.
Yeah, that other stuff. And it's like, I'm just sitting there and everybody's talking amongst themselves. My aunt's coming and kissing me on the head like, don't worry, we love you anyway. And it's just crazy. And that's like the dinner where everybody found out. And my father, he was very, at the beginning, I think a lot of people were concerned.
Yeah.
They didn't know, there was a lot of stigma towards Islam around that time.
Yeah.
And, it didn't make it any easier that, from the beginning I went all in. So I reverted to Islam. I ended up, telling them that I'm leaving to go seek knowledge in Saudi Arabia. I'm going to marry some sister in London who I've never met before.
They were shocked.
All of this stuff, bro, is just like, what is happening?
The first move you made when you went back to New York was
Yeah.
to go to London, right? Was it to get married? Like, how did your talab al-ilm how did it start?
So I would say it first started with meeting the brothers in Miami at Jum'ah. They put me on to and taught me about talab al-ilm. That's when the spark went in my head. Okay, I need to go seek knowledge. And I met somebody who they told me, do you want to go seek knowledge and live in an environment very humble, similar to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and be in a place surrounded by Quran and Sunnah? I'm like, of course, that's all I want. And they told me to go to Yemen. So I was getting ready and preparing to go to Yemen, to go seek knowledge. But at this time, there was something going on in Yemen where it was like a siege upon one of the learning institutes where you couldn't go. So I was waiting for that to end so I could go to Yemen and start studying.
Oh, at that time, yeah, damam.
Damaj.
Damaj, sorry,
Damaj,
yes.
yeah. I was waiting to go to Damaj, and I'd attend lectures in this masjid in New York by a sheikh called Abu Dujana at Masjid Al-Albani.
Okay.
And he'd give us updates on what's happening in Damaj, and I was waiting to go. As I'm waiting, I'm kind of like thinking about, if I can't go, what are other ways I could seek knowledge? So I'm thinking about Egypt. I applied to Medina University, and I'm just waiting in New York to figure out my next move. So I started to learn how to read the Quran there by a local imam. I started basic Arabic classes, and that's where, my talab al-ilm started. In the meantime, I was waiting for my application to come back from Medina University. I decided to get married. The brother who I spoke to on that day, who taught me about Islam from the beginning, I ended up asking him if he knew anybody that I could get married to. Alhamdulillah, he was married to a sister who knew my wife. He ended up connecting me with her brother, ended up speaking to him from New York through London, and that ended up being my next move. Going to London, get married, and then if my application comes back from Medina, go there. If not, go to Egypt. If the siege stops, go to Damaj. That was the first option.
Solid plan.
So I was just planning, bro, figuring out what's the next move. So
look at that.
Yeah, I went to London, I got married, and subhanallah, I ended up actually getting accepted, not to Medina, didn't end up going to Egypt, and the siege in Damaj didn't stop. I ended up getting accepted somewhere else where I never applied.
Tell us about how that happened, though. How did you, tell us about the moment when you saw or you heard that you was accepted to the Jamia in Saudi, and you never even applied for it as well. Because I was shocked about that. So
yeah, so some context. When we were applying to the universities at that time, Medina was one of the only ones which had an online portal to, submit your applications. It was Medina. I think it was another university in Jeddah called King Abdulaziz. So I applied to these two places. I wasn't able to apply to another university in Riyadh. It was called Imam Muhammad bin Saud University, because they only had you only had to go and give it by paper. And, I had no way to apply. And I went to Umrah, but on our Umrah visa, you can't leave at that time. I don't know if it's changed. You couldn't leave Mecca, Medina, or Jeddah. Yeah. So I had no way to go and give my application. So subhanAllah, I came to London, and I went to Masjid in Harrow, Masjid Muqbil, and I found a brother who was studying in Imam Muhammad bin Saud University at that time. So I asked him, I said, can you give him my application when you go back? And he said, yeah, no problem. We'll meet next week. Right before I go back, you'll give me the application, I'll hand it in. Okay. I'm like, khair, inshallah. As before the week comes, there's a sheikh who was going to come to Manchester, Sheikh Salih Suhaimi. And, I was always hearing about the ulama in New York. And we didn't have a lot of shuyukh and scholars coming to visit America at that time. I think it was more widespread in London. Yeah. So when I heard Sheikh Salih Suhaimi was going to come, I made one mission in my head to go and see the ulama, to go and see the sheikh. And that was in Manchester. So before that week, when I was supposed to give this brother the application, I ended up going to a muhadara, a class in Brixton Masjid by Sheikh Haytham Sarhan. And that was kind of like the muqaddimah, or an intro for Sheikh Suhaimi's class in Manchester. Yeah. So my goal was, okay, I'm going to go to Brixton, I'm going to listen to this muhadara, and I'm going to find somebody to give me a ride to Manchester to go see Sheikh Suhaimi. And that's the only thing I was thinking, is I need to go see the ulama. I need to go. I was hearing all these things about, you've never seen people like the ulama before, their knowledge. And so, I go there. We actually slept over at the masjid, and they had a muhadara also after Fajr. And then the sheikh was going to Manchester. I was looking for a ride. I was like, how am I going to get to Manchester? Nobody had a spot open in their car. The cars were filled. And this is when I just got married. I, didn't have a job. I saved up in America, and I didn't know. I just came to London. I didn't even have a SIM card at that time, so I didn't even have data. Nobody could message me while I was there. So I remember that train ride back from Brixton to my house here in London where I was staying.
Yeah.
And there was one thing going through my mind. Why is Allah keeping me from seeing the ulama? What did I do? I started to self-reflect, like, there must be something that I did which I'm being kept from this opportunity. And that's the only thing on my mind. So subhanAllah, I end up getting home and my wife ends up saying to me, you didn't get Wi-Fi? I'm like, no, what happened? And a lot of my friends from New York, their wives were messaging her saying that their husbands were trying to get in touch with me.
Yeah.
So I go and check my phone. And I get a message from all of these brothers like, you've been accepted. And first thing I'm thinking is, oh, University of Medina. And then I look at the letter and it's from Imam Muhammad ibn Saud University in Riyadh, the one university that I was never able to apply to. And I was waiting to go next week to give my application to the brother. Subhanallah. And one of my friends, after he sent me the application, he sent me a message. And the message was, this isn't just the lands of the scholars. This is the land of the kibar al-ulama, like the major scholars. Riyadh was the place where Sheikh Salih al-Fawzan was, the Mufti of Saudi Arabia. So subhanallah, I was just thinking, like, on my way home, I was thinking, what is Allah keeping me from the scholars for? And I get home and brought to the land of the kibar, the major scholars.
Subhanallah.
And to this day, I don't know how I got accepted to that university. It could have
physically handed it in. That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, I'm guessing something from somebody from Medina University maybe sent the papers over. No idea. But to this day, I don't know how I got accepted. And I ended up going back to the Masjid Muqbil at that time and telling the brother, I don't need you to give my application anymore. I got accepted. He was just confused, like, how? You said you didn't apply. I'm like, subhanallah.
And it has your passport number as well, everything.
Yeah, after I got the official acceptance letter, it had my passport number on it, everything.
You're thinking, how did that person get your passport number as well?
Ajib.
Subhanallah. There's so many, like, amazing things that happen in your life. Just ajib things that happen in your life as well.
Ajib, subhanallah.
The guy in the wheelchair, getting accepted to the Jami'ah. So after the Jami'ah, you was in the lands of Mauritania as well. So how did that even happen?
After I got accepted, I went to Saudi and I studied for about 5 years between Riyadh and Egypt. So whenever I'd get a break, I'd go to Egypt. I wouldn't go back to the West. A lot of students, they'd get a break, summer break.
Okay.
They go back to the West. No, I'd go to Egypt because I moved my wife and ended up having a kid at this time too, mashallah. Moved them to Egypt because I didn't want them staying in the West. And I was having a hard time bringing them to Saudi. The universities were giving a hard time for students to bring their families. So, akhi, subhanallah, 5 years, I'd go, I'd study. January break or summer break will come, go to Egypt. And just back and forth like that. Sometimes I'd take a semester off and just stay in Egypt.
Wow.
And that's what I was doing for about 5 years. So I completed the Arabic Institute there, and I entered the Kulliyat Sharia, and I finished the first and second semester. But I wasn't too happy with the university system, and I wanted to kind of tread more of a traditional path of seeking knowledge.
Yeah.
And that's what ended up guiding me to leave Egypt. I ended up going to Turkey and studying it in Madrasa there. And from there, I'd go to Mauritania. I'd spent like a couple months there. I'd go to Ethiopia and visit some of the shuyukh there. And would just go traveling and sitting with shuyukh one-on-one. And that's what I've been doing basically for the past like 6 years.
Allahumma barik. Allahumma barik. I think one thing on the viewers' minds, I would say is, that's on my mind as well, is how did you manage to also fund yourself being a talib al-ilm?
When I first started to seek knowledge, alhamdulillah, I was blessed. I was able to get some help from, my mother. As I said, she's always been on my side, helping me from the very beginning. And that's how I really started to make my initial moves. And subhanallah, as time went on, I started to realize that this isn't sustainable. You know, I need to start going out and making my own money now. I need to start making my own moves. I need to become self-sufficient.
Yeah.
That's kind of where I started to, you know, research myself how to go and make money. And I was realizing that a lot of people in the West, students of knowledge, what they would do is they spend 6 months seeking knowledge maybe, then go back to America and get a trucking job and go back and forth. One foot in and one foot out. And I never wanted that for myself. And then I noticed other brothers, they'd go and they study and they go back and become an imam and they stay in the West. I also didn't want that for myself. So I started to look into entrepreneurship, and it wasn't an easy path, but what made it easier was I had a brother that I used to know from when I first became Muslim that I reached out to, and he started, you know, teaching me about the online business world. He started teaching me about reselling crypto at that time, and that was kind of like the first venture that I got into and got really successful in, and made me, you know, able to live and travel on my own without having to rely on somebody else.
Family or anything,
Yeah, subhanAllah. And as I was learning this business model and implementing it, I started to, you know, learn things about sales, learn things about marketing, value delivery, all the essential, you know, pillars which are needed to start an online business or any business, to be honest. And that's when, you know, I started to go and put together a project where I wanted it to be more than just business. I wanted it to be, you know, I want to create value. I wanted to help students, help Muslims, you know, go and learn practically. How do I make money? How do I get out? Give them an actionable pathway to that. And that's where I came up, you know, with the concept of Madrasa X, is where we strive first and foremost ourselves, and we try to help other people where we can, you know, elevate their lives spiritually, mentally, physically, financially, and beyond, the Islamic way. So through the lens of Islam. And that's kind of what we want to help. We want to bring together Muslims who, you know, they realize that they need to learn to make wealth. They don't want to do it for the sake of the dunya. They wanted to fund their talab al-ilm. They wanted to fund their hijrah. You know, they wanted to fund their homeschooling operations that they put together for their children, so that they could implement the hadith, kullukum ra'in wa kullukum mas'ulun an ra'iyati. Every single one of you is a shepherd and will be asked about his herd. And, you know, wants to elevate the different aspects of his life, you know, through the lens of Islam.
I got a question. So what would you say is a good advice for a person, for example, that's a talib al-ilm right now, that's a seeker of knowledge? What would be the first step for him, giving us the example of Madrasa X, a little sample, would be the first step that they should take, including their mindset? What should they be doing?
In their talab al-ilm journey, or in
their financial side
of financial journey. The first thing I would do, which would have saved me a lot of time if I would have done from the beginning, is find a mentor. Because a mentor is what literally got me on the fast track. So otherwise, you're going to have to try to, you know, piece together all the little pieces of free information. And, you know, the biggest thing which helped me was when I would arrive at a problem, you know, I'd have my mentor who would be able to walk me through it. Because you could follow a course, but then you're going to encounter unique problems which arise, you know, along the way. And if you have somebody experienced, they're going to be able to help you navigate that. And that's what's going to help you to, you know, really make what you want a reality. So the first thing I do is I look for a mentor, and I make sure that that mentor, you know, is going to guide them according to Islamic values and Islamic morals. So I want Muslims to take over the entrepreneurial space for Muslims. You know, we should have Muslims teaching sales, Muslims teaching marketing for Muslims, because we're a community where, you know, we have our own unique needs. We have our own unique way of looking at life. So, you may go to somebody, who teaches sales, but if they're not Muslim, they're mixing their sales with nihilism.
Exactly.
Exactly, yeah.
There becomes, your Islam can become tainted. So we need Muslims to, start coming back and elevating themselves in these different areas of life and creating solutions for our community, for the Muslims. And that's the first thing. So if they found a mentor, and if they make sure that that mentor is, going to guide them according to their morals, they're not going to teach them marketing tactics which, have lying in it, which go against Islam, then I'd say to go and do what they say and commit to the process. Commit to the process, because once you commit to the process, you're going to not only learn from your successes, but you're going to learn from your failures. And once you encounter a failure, then you can go and iterate. You can go and, figure out, okay, how can I do it better? And as long as you keep, striving in that way, meaning that, you're implementing something, and when you come across a failure, you iterate, you get better, you try to, come up with a new solution, then you're going to move the needle forward. And with the tawfiq of Allah, you'll end up, where you need to be financially, and you'll be able to go make hijrah, go seek knowledge full time, go and start to remove yourself from the business so you could give your time to that which matters, seeking knowledge, time to your family, everything.
So what are some of the ways that you think we can cultivate, or you can cultivate some of the people to have that mindset of having money in your hand and not in your heart?
Yeah, well, the way I think about how I developed that mindset is, as I was seeking knowledge, I started to try to implement that knowledge. So I'd come across, for example, a saying of Ibn Umar radiyallahu anhu, "Allimu awladakum as-sibaha wa rimaya wa rukub al-khayl." Teach your children swimming, archery, and horseback riding. When I'd go home and I'd figure out, and I'd sit down and I'd try to implement that, I'm like, okay, first I need to find horseback riding instructors, archery instructors, swimming instructors. Then I have to manage my time and I have to book it in. So then I started to see that some of these things cost money. So, just trying to implement different aspects of knowledge. For example, kullukum ra'in, kullukum mas'ulan ra'iyatihi, like I mentioned. I started to think about how to safeguard my children. One of the things I came to was take them out of the schooling system. When I took them out when I took them out of the schooling system, or didn't put them in to begin with, then I started to, see that this is gonna, take wealth to, bring them to a high standard. So I started to see, as I was implementing knowledge, that certain things, if I want to do it, it requires wealth. And that's why I started to go and, pursue wealth. So I think that, we have to cultivate a culture, with the entrepreneurs of talab al-ilm, of seeking knowledge, of, making that the cornerstone of what you're doing. Learning Islam, implementing it, and using wealth in whatever facilitates that implementation. So this, first and foremost, takes bringing awareness. It takes a podcast similar to what we're doing. It could take a class. It could take you telling another brother, you just acting upon that and living it by yourself. If other brothers know you're making 10, 20, 30, 40, 100K a month, and you're still in, for example, Yemen, seeking knowledge in this markaz because that's what matters to you, when people see that, that's going to affect them. So you have to, lead the way. Lead the way for yourself, for your family, and try to be inspiration to those around you. But yeah, it's very important that we make sure that entrepreneurism, it does not stand alone. We have to, have Islam, have seeking knowledge and implementing it as its base, so it becomes a reason for that. Money's supposed to accelerate your life, the knowledge you're supposed to be implementing. That's what it's for. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created us for ibadah. وَمَا خَلَقَتُ الْجِنَّ وَالْإِنسَ إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُونَ. I didn't create jinn and mankind except to worship me. So this wealth, it should be a means of, that worship. And not saying it's going to be easy, because wealth can be, and become a fitna.
Yeah,
of course.
It's not going to be easy, not for myself, not for anybody else, but to kind of keep that, in mind, and kind of, guide entrepreneurs, not just to be entrepreneurs, to be students of knowledge also, to have talabul ilm in their heart, I think is very important.
So you see, nowadays, Murad, there's a trend that's going on where you got a lot of people from here, especially London, from the UK, they're going to America, and they're kind of venturing out to do things. So what advice would you give to say that, so the brothers that are leaving here to go there, like, is it greener on the other side, coming from New York, coming from where you've been through, like how you've grew up there, the lifestyle? Is it really greener on the other side? And what's the do's and the don'ts?
If you're gonna compare London to New York, it's greener on this side.
Yeah.
For a Muslim, it's a lot better to be a Muslim in London than New York. But it's a lot better to be a Muslim in a Muslim country, than in London. And I think that there's too many opportunities to, generate wealth, especially with all the online opportunities, whether that's e-commerce, whether that's course creation and consulting, whether that's something else, that there's really no reason anymore for anybody to stay in the West. Even if you want to create some type of physical business, there's places and opportunities in Muslim countries which, there's a big gap to be filled, and you can go and find a place in the market where you could position yourself and be in an even better position than if you were to start something in, in the West.
Yeah, that's true.
SubhanAllah. So I think it really takes somebody reaching that, I don't know what to call it, a level of a point in their life where they're just like, I've had enough. I want to take that next step. I want to go out and I'm going to do whatever I need to do to make it happen. Because that's the mentality I have. It was kind of like, make hijrah or die trying.
It's true.
That's it. I wasn't going to let anything stop me. So when I made that my primary goal, not making money, then everything in my life I started to do in order to attain that thing. And that's when wealth came in, and it came in to sustain that. But when you have wealth as your foundation, as the thing you're striving for, then you'll do whatever it takes to make that. And that's how you'll end up maybe even in a worse country where Islam is not welcome. So it's all about changing the goal, changing the focal point, changing the intention, taking money out of your heart and seeing it as a tool, not necessarily an evil, because I think we have two extremes. We have, people who go and they see, money as the goal, the end. That's what they dedicate their lives to. And then we have another extreme where making money is kind of stigmatized, and it's kind of like you're striving for dunya. But if you're using money for the sake of Allah, if you're using money for the sake of all the things that we spoke about, then it becomes a means of pleasing Allah. It doesn't become dunya. If you're going and spending and creating wealth, and that's enabling you to make hijrah and never have to go back to the lands of the non-Muslims, and that's a big ni'mah, it's a big blessing. So I think we have to figure out a way as an ummah to first and foremost come to that understanding ourselves and make wealth a means and not an end, and then try to guide others through action, through speech, to kind of make that shift as well.
There's one thing that I wanted to elaborate on just quickly. I've seen there's a trend now as well where a lot of Muslims are starting businesses. Allahumma barik. Even if you look at even like the Somali community, there's a lot of them that's opening up restaurants. There's a lot of them that's opening up these cafes, and so many that's opened up. But one of the worst things that I believe happened to our community is people who are jahil, but they have money. Entrepreneurs that are jahil. Because what happens is they open up these shops, they hire women, let them wear trousers. It's Muslim women as well. They will let them wear trousers, and they use them as an attractive item, like a woman that's just, So I've even seen it myself, me being in my shop, men that are wearing thobes, you know, that are going to the masjid, that will come to my shop and say to me, why don't you hire a woman that's got trousers on and they'll bring everyone to come to the shop? And I'm looking at them like, are you serious? What do you mean hire women that are wearing trousers and good looking, etc., to bring more people to the shop? So I realized, I said, people need, how do we get these individuals to study bait transaction? How do we get them to study that? Even if there were some courses we could even present, or if somebody done that, somebody that's watching this, or even yourself, I think it's a really good idea to present to these people, because they're going to be held accountable for this, as in like to do bait and you haven't studied it. So how do we present that to them, as in like to these individuals to study bait, to know what you can do, what you can't do, also as well to have them to be more God-fearing in regards to these matters, because everybody speaks about build a business, start a business, make this money, etc. But nobody speaks about what are the do's and the can't do's.
Yeah.
So that's one thing.
I think it's making that switch from this very fragmented life we have now, where we see deen and dunya, and coming to a mindset that Islam is life. So coming to that mindset where you see your fitness through the lens of Islam, where you see your entrepreneurism through the lens of Islam, your networking, your family building, everything you're doing, seeing it through the lens of Islam and using it as a means to accelerate your Islam. We need to make that shift. And, you know, that's one of the things that we're trying to push, that mindset inside of Madrasa X, is that Islam is life. Every single thing has an Islamic perspective to it, and you can be doing something for the sake of Allah. So it all starts in changing your mindset. And changing your mindset, how do we go and change people's mindset? You know, subhanAllah, that's a very good question. I'm trying my best to do, you know, what I can through creating Madrasa X, through creating some content and teaching some of the perspectives that I learned myself, hoping to have some type of, you know, benefit to the Muslims. But it's not an easy problem to solve.
It's definitely
not an easy problem to solve, especially when the things which are keeping people inside of the system, inside of that system which keeps, you know, deen separated from dunya and doesn't make you do everything through the lens of Islam, through the lens of the deen, you know, it's coming at us through every angle. It's coming at us through advertisements. It's coming at us through social media. It's coming at us, you know, if you're living in the West, even worse.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, so it's not something easy to solve. But I think one thing which we need to do is we need to start creating projects and having the mindset of creating value. So, for example, any business that I go into or I potentially go into, I always think, you know, what value am I going to be bringing? How am I going to help solve a problem for the Muslims? Because I recently, for example, had a brother you know, offer me an opportunity to get in a business selling sweets in India. And I just thought to myself, I'm like, what value am I going to be bringing to the Muslims selling sweets in a time where, you know, obesity is at its all-time high? For what? For money? There's so many things you can do for the sake of Islam. You could start gyms which are segregated, which don't play music in them.
That's all.
You can so many different. You could start co-working.
Nobody take that wrong.
Yeah. You could start co-working facilities, for example, where you rent out apartments and it's also segregated, where Muslims are living amongst Muslims and collaborating in entrepreneurship.
Yeah, hold that ideas for the madrasa. You're leaking too much. We got.
There's opportunities are endless to provide value. Subhanallah. So
it's true.
That's one thing I think we need to get in this mindset. Okay, I'm gonna do something. Yes, I'm gonna monetize it, but I also want to be solving a problem for Muslims at the same time. I also want to be moving the needle forward, doing something to revive Islam, doing something to help Islam, doing something to help the community. If we take that mindset and people start building projects and that like this, then entrepreneurs are going to be some of the next people who play a big part in, you know,
100%,
in moving the needle forward for Muslims and
So-
reviving Islam throughout the world and making it strong.
You're
So,
right. You're right. 100%.
I've got one basically last question because as we can see the time is coming.
SubhanAllah.
It's coming قريب, but so right now we have viewers, some that are probably in prison. We have youth that are in the streets that are watching this. What advice would you give if there's youth right now that are probably doing things, as you know how the crime is in London, it's similar to how it is in America. What advice would you give to those guys who are just stuck in the streets and they're finding it very hard to break out of that cycle and they don't know where to start, they don't know where to look? Like, what advice would you give to those people?
The advice I would give is to start with what you can do. And what most of you can do is, you know, I was in that situation before, so I understand. It's probably similar to what I was able to do. Wake up every single morning and make a heartfelt dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to change your life, to help you to leave your desires behind, to open up new doors for you, and be on the lookout for these new opportunities as you make this dua. And when it comes, take them. You know, when a new opportunity comes for you to, you know, move from your, you know, environment to a better environment, take it. When a new opportunity comes for you to start studying more, maybe a new class opens up at your masjid, take it and start gradually, you know, making your way out. Because if you don't do that, you know, it's either death or in jail. There's nothing else besides that. SubhanAllah. If I didn't make that change, I don't see myself, Allah knows best, being here today. But it's because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had mercy on me that I was able to get out of it. And I just wish they can, you know, taste the sweetness of Iman, because the sweetness that I lived as a Muslim, as a student of knowledge, you know, the dunya and all of the drugs and all of the gang life and everything, it doesn't even compare. It's darkness and light. Allah. Just keep doing the things you need to do to start getting close to tasting that sweetness. And once you taste that sweetness, never let it go. Just keep going further and further and further.
Beautiful, beautiful.
معاذ
الكوبي بارك الله فيك حفظك الله ورعاك.
حياكم الله.
والله جزاك الله خير. We benefited a lot from this episode, and I hope the viewers also benefited as well. And any ending?
No, wallah, it's been amazing. It's been obviously my first time hearing your story, so alhamdulillah, wallah, it's been very inspirational. And inshallah the viewers can take it as well and can take a lot from that.
Inshallah.
Yeah, inshallah.
So what we'll do, we'll put the link in the description as well for the Madrasa X as well, and all the other links as well for you guys to follow up with us. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdika ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk.